What's going on, everybody? I hope you're having a really great day. I want to talk to you guys about something that's happening this week. You may or may not know, you probably do though, that my film Shelby Oaks is coming out on October 24th. There are early showings Thursday night as well. I've been going to Thursday late night showings of movies ever since I started my YouTube channel. Back when I went to the Macedonia Cinemark, which is now a B&B theaters, when there were midnight showings of movies on Thursday. I would leave the Kingdom Hall and rush to that movie as quick as possible so that I could review that film, stay up all night, all the way until 5 a.m., publish it, and then go straight to work on the school bus. And that was how I started my YouTube channel 16 years ago. It's been a really, really, really long journey. But my journey towards filmmaking began way before that. As a lot of you watching this video probably know, when I was 14 years old, I saw a series of movies that made me want to make movies. It was Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, Spielberg's Minority Report, and M. Night Shyamalan's Signs. Spider-Man was the first movie that I saw thinking I knew what it would be like. A Spider-Man film. I had watched all of the Spider-Man cartoons I could get my hands on, played every Spider-Man video game ever, read tons of Spider-Man comics, but when I saw Raimi's vision for that movie, it felt like someone had given a masterful filmmaker a ton of money to make a very personal movie that also was an extremely awesome blockbuster. And I couldn't believe that somebody was allowed to do that, and it was so, so cool. And when I saw Minority Report, it was the very first time that I ever had an intellectual discussion with an adult about a film afterwards, because my friend's dad went to see it with us. My friend's dad was not a Jehovah's Witness, and he wanted to talk to me afterwards about Spielberg's filmography and what Minority Report was saying and the themes of it. And I realized, wait a second, people are allowed to discuss movies in an analytical way. This is amazing. Up until then, I had mostly just talked about movies with my friends for maybe like 5 minutes, and then the conversation would end. And of course, Signs was that movie where I started to pay attention to the end credits and noticed that there were job titles you could have. What's a gaffer? What's a first assistant director? What's a best boy? I made a movie. I still don't know what a best boy is. I remember very clearly coming home from that movie and running from the car in the parking lot of my old apartment building, Timber Top Apartments, which was in Akron, Ohio, I think off Portage Trail. And in that parking lot, looking at my mom and saying, is there any way that I can have a camera because I think I want to make movies? Having no idea what that meant, which I think is a level of ignorance that most filmmakers probably need to have to get them as far as they can to actually get one made. Because if you knew how hard it was going to be, I think a lot of us maybe wouldn't try. As soon as that camcorder arrived in the mail, I spent my entire teenage years making hundreds of short films and features with my friends, and sometimes completely by myself. There were days where I didn't have anybody around and I just wanted to make a movie, so I would go out into the woods with my tripod and set up a bunch of shots and do a one-man show. There's a lot of them that I have saved where it's just me walking around, finding stuff. But we were figuring things out. My friends and I, we were learning how to make movies. Yeah, we were kids, but all of us had schedules at that point. A lot of my friends had their first jobs. Pretty soon, I had my first job, a custodian working at a truck parts warehouse. And so we all had to work around a schedule, which is something you have to later do when you make a real movie. You have actors and they all have schedules and you have to balance it. Some of them can be there on certain days and some of them can't. I was figuring out continuity. We would film a scene for a movie wearing coats because it was cold outside. And then a couple weeks later, we would shoot another scene that follows right after that. And remember, wait a second, we need to make sure we have our coats on. Even though it's warm outside, my friends would be like, but it's really hot outside. I'd be like, look, we had the coats on the last scene, okay? We have to keep the coats. And as the sun would go down, we'd be struggling to get our last few shots because we realized we were losing our light. These are all things that apply to making a real movie. And we were figuring that out. Being a Jehovah's Witness at the time was very difficult when it came to wanting to make movies because the elders at the congregation would consistently tell me to stop making movies. I would get brought into a back room and the door would close and they would lock the door and they would sit me down and read me Bible scriptures about violence, that God hates violence, and that I was getting closer to Satan, the devil, and all kinds of things like that to keep me from making movies because they thought that it would take me away from serving God. I guess they were right, but honestly, I'm glad they were right. I'm glad that I escaped that place. And I'm glad that I'm now talking to you about a film that I have coming out in a couple days because This has been an extremely long journey for me. The next step in that journey involved starting a YouTube channel, and I did that because I was seeking out a connection with other people who loved movies as much as I did. Yeah, all my childhood friends, when I was a Jehovah's Witness, watched movies with me, and they helped me start in my movies, and some of them even made some of their own. But it was really clear that after a while it was becoming something that they were doing begrudgingly. They didn't necessarily want to, and that's completely fine. They don't have to have the same passions that I have. And it was very clear that I would want to talk about movies for a lot longer than they would, which again, I get it. Not everybody has this passion, and it's completely fine. So I started my YouTube channel hoping to reach out, hoping to find other people who liked movies like I did, and maybe find a community of people who understood how I felt. And I did. And it's been amazing. And so many of you have been the biggest support ever. In fact, over 14,000 of you literally backed this movie on Kickstarter, and I'm so thankful and I'm so grateful. But now it is coming out this weekend, and I'm so excited to share it with you. What matters to me is that someone sees this movie who was like me when I was 14, looking to be inspired by someone who's doing something I want to do. If someone out there sees Shelby Oaks, whether you're older or younger, and thinks, you know what, I think I can do this, because that guy did it. If there is any way that this movie or myself can make it seem a little bit easier to finally get a film made, whether that's just going home and working on a script that you've been neglecting, whatever it is, that is my ultimate goal with Shelby Oaks, that I can return a little bit of that inspiration that I've always felt seeing other filmmakers succeed, seeing other filmmakers release their movies. If I can give a little bit back into the world and inspire some of you to try to make your own film, I will be the happiest man alive. And the last point that I want to make is this. Shelby Oaks is one of the lowest budget films of the year to receive a theatrical release. This is really special to me. I am very proud of that because we live in a world where cinema is under attack from all different sides. Whether it's just people aren't watching, whether it's people trying to stop filmmakers from making personal stories, or it's just Hollywood not allowing filmmakers to tell the stories they want to tell, having a stranglehold on production companies, on visual effects artists, on actors, on writers. It's really tough out there right now, is what I'm trying to say. A lot of my filmmaker friends are struggling financially. If you think all filmmakers are rich, it's just not true. Most of us, especially on the indie side, are paycheck to paycheck and are struggling. So please do me a favor and don't just go see my movie in theaters, but try to see at least one independent film in theaters a month. I really think it will make a massive difference if you guys can do that. A lot of us need the help. So go support independent films, films that aren't based off of any IP. Please do me a favor. There's a link in the description. You can purchase tickets to Shelby Oaks. Please let Hollywood know that an indie horror film shot in Ohio by a YouTuber is something you'd actually like to see, because I know I'm not the only one who wants to make films. And maybe we can actually make an impact, and Hollywood can actually pay attention for once. I want to give you an example. When I started my YouTube channel in 2009, there was no such thing as video press accreditation. If you said I talk about film on video in my house, you're not going to get into any press screenings back then. It took me 6 years. I think it was 2015, and it might have been Star Wars Force Awakens that I finally got invited to a press-only screening and had a reserved seat. 6 years of hustling. I would apply to the Critics' Choice Association. I tried to get on Rotten Tomatoes to be certified, and it didn't matter. If I wasn't in print, no one cared. That has changed. You know why it's changed? Because Hollywood has had to take notice. And I think the exact same thing is going to happen with movies. There's a lot of YouTubers now who are making films. I'm not the first. There's the Filippo brothers. Dan Trachtenberg, who's making the Predator movie, started as a YouTuber. So did David F. Sandberg. Even Michael Shanks, who made Together, started as a YouTuber. Joe Penna started as a YouTuber. And recently, Curry Barker has made his first movie. And it looks really awesome. I can't wait to see it. So, stuff is changing. And Hollywood will notice that. And I do think that 10 or 15 years from now, the vast majority of new filmmakers will have some kind of YouTube presence or TikTok presence, or I just find it really hard to imagine that new filmmakers in 10 or 15 years will just appear out of nowhere having never posted anything on the internet. So my whole point is that for things to change, there's a lot of gatekeepers. There's a lot of people out there who are putting up barriers because they like things the way they are and they don't want things to change. We just have to keep letting them hear us so that they will eventually change. We did that with press accreditation for YouTubers and TikTokers, and now you go to any premiere and what do you see? Tons of influencers and YouTubers and people who actually really generated their careers out of sheer passion and sheer will because they love what they're doing and they can't be ignored. And the same thing is going to happen with film. So do me a favor, guys. Buy a ticket for Shelby Oaks this weekend. There's a lot of people on the crew of this movie who worked extremely hard, who will also benefit from you having bought a ticket. There's tons of crew members that have points on this film who will get paid more if you go and see it, because these are the unsung heroes of film, the people who work their asses off to get a film made. I want them to be successful too, and you guys have the power to do that. So please do me a favor and go check out Shelby Oaks this weekend. It's opening October 24th. There are early showings on October 23rd. Obviously, I hope you enjoy the movie, but truthfully, my biggest hope is that people out there who see the film, someone, even just one person, later, 10 or 15 years from now, comes up to me and says, you know, I got a film made and your film inspired me to do so. That would be the greatest thing ever. So guys, thank you so much for watching this. Like I said, that link is in the description below. It's been a long journey and I've been honored to share a lot of it with you guys. And don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to make videos. Obviously, I've been making videos through this whole press tour. I will keep it up because I love you guys and you've supported me over the years and it means the world to me. So thank you so much and I'll see you at the movies.